So I'm going to launch into welcome everybody, and Mercedes, thanks for being here. You know, Eric is really the mastermind behind all these developing of the series, so I'm just here for show. So let's just delve into our warm-up. Can everybody see the whiteboard here?
Yes.
I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Our warm-up is going to be a paired activity discussing this question: what will you do differently online next semester? So you notice the will, right? This is a promise you're making to yourself, right? Just thinking ahead, really, to, you know, we know we're going to be online in January again. We're finishing up now, and looking forward. So just greet your partner. If you haven't met that person, just introduce yourself, but then delve into your discussion talking about this question, and then either together or separately, go to Google Classroom, where there will be, I'm sorry, I didn't change my slide, where there will be, this is not the alternative. It's a Mentimeter link. Mentimeter is a polling site that I am trying to use more and more and get people more and more familiar with, because it's a great way to use in class to poll students and show it on the screen. So with that, I think Eric is going to put you in breakout rooms. I'll give you the 1-minute warning so that you can have time to go to Google Classroom and go to Mentimeter and submit your answer. Basically just putting what you discussed with your partner into the Mentimeter answer. So with that, Eric, are you gonna put into breakout rooms? So we always have this issue with trying to fit everything into an hour. You know, making sure that people have a chance to talk. It's also a really good reminder of like pacing in a class, like what you want your students to be able to do, leave them maybe wanting a little bit more. So I'm just gonna broadcast as everybody can see this, right? This is the Mentimeter poll, and a few people got there, which is great. And you can take a look at what folks are thinking about. And please feel free to vote later, because we'll send you the link to the poll so that you can take a look at it. I think it's absolutely like understandable. I don't know yet. Waiting for inspiration, using Google Slides for everything. I totally, and people are still voting as we speak, so that's great. Using Schoology and breakouts for orientation. The last vote that came in, more comfortable with various platforms for more variety. So I'm going to leave it at that in the quick format that we did. We'll send out the link to the Mentimeter. I'd highly recommend using it for class too. It's really a great tool. Has a lot of more capabilities than I even showed you now. So over to you, Eric or Mercedes. I don't know who I'm turning it over to. Thanks,
just to say just a quick word. And as you all know, we're meeting weekly here for a little while. To just explore breakout groups, and you know, working at the central office, we all have this lovely opportunity to observe classes and talk to teachers all over the program, and we learn all the amazing things that you each are doing and figuring out. And we're also impressed with what you're doing, and everyone's figuring out different kinds of solutions that's why we wanted to create this opportunity for people to share. So I'm excited that Mercedes is here. I was able to observe her class last week, and I'm excited to see what she's sharing today. So I'll get out of the way so we can hear from her. So talk to you soon.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Yes, you can see it. I'm not going to ask, can you see it? I know you can see it because I can see it here. Okay. Okay, so today I am going to talk just a little bit about some activities that I've done in class, especially how I share, how students share their work with me and I implement it in our lessons while teaching online. Okay, so the first thing that this is basically what we're going to be doing is talking about four things. Why should we integrate students' work in our lessons? Then what do students need in order for students to be able to send their work to us faster? Because if they send it through email, probably it's going to take longer for us to receive it. And then before going to breakout rooms, which is the fun part, what should instructors do? And then after that, what I do in the class, sharing our answers and just completing the work together. Okay, so um, first things first, why should we integrate students' work in our lessons? So that question was more for all of you to think about it and just probably share your answers in the chat. Perhaps, why do you think it's important that that we integrate students' work while we're teaching? Okay, so Eric said that is how we understand what they're learning. Hmm. To see different methods of solving the same problem. Very good. Instant feedback. Perfect. By the way, okay. Yes. So to know where they really are, material they generate reveals issues you might not have considered, and they can model work for each other. Okay, so here I'm going to write down some of the answers, okay? So let's see.
Mercedes, I can continue to read as you write if you
Oh,
want.
perfect, perfect.
Maria says, Michael, I think we're going back to Michael. Michael, they can model work. Maria says, anytime you highlight students' work, you highlight their experience and boost their confidence and address immediate needs. Paris says, so we can involve them directly and give them a stake in
Mm-hmm.
it. Kwanya says, assessing them during the lesson. Maggie says we can see what they're thinking
Mm-hmm.
and use that work to show steps. And for
Okay.
anyone who isn't familiar, we saved the chat as part of the recording and as part of the notes that we send out afterwards. So none of this is lost.
Thank you, Moira. So I loved all your answers. Why? Because as teachers, the expectations from us are usually that we are the ones who know everything, but that's not how it really works. Students know a lot of things, and from what they know, that we can help them try to really build up their knowledge from their own experiences. Okay, so this is why I think personally that integrating students' work in our lessons, it's necessary in my opinion. I don't do it every single day, but most days, most of the lessons I do. So these are some of the examples of integrating the work with the students. If you see on your left, this is a homework that I gave to the students. So they sent the work to me. We learned what real numbers were. Integers. I know it in Spanish. I'm getting confused in English. So what integers were, and then they were learning which one is greater than the other one. So I told them, okay, make a list. It doesn't matter. You make a list of the integers on your left, and then on your right, a column of, and then the the column on the center, it's going to be empty. Leave it empty, okay? And then they sent me those pictures of their work. And then what did we do in class? Well, I shared some of the photos that the students sent to me, and that was part of a 5 minute activity that we did at the beginning of the class, and it was from their own work. And then also this is from the students. They were working in groups, and then once they sent me the work, we went over together what we can do better. What can we do better? How can we fix this? And that's just part of what we do in the class. Um, from my experience, I I took a few classes on how to teach with or how to apply distance learning. And I learned a lot, but I was never able to apply any of the knowledge until now. I usually thought, okay, this is going to be in the future. It sounds fun. But now this is the future and it is the present. So how can we apply meaningful activities in the classroom while we are apart from each other? So in order for the students to be able to share their work, we use one platform or an app which is called Remind, and we use it. It's free, and you can communicate with the students instead of using WhatsApp, which is more personal. It's better. Remind. Believe me, I'll show you why. And students can send their work from there, and they can also just, if they cannot come to class or if you have an announcement to make, you can do it from there. So I'll show you how our Remind looks. But you can also download the app from your phone. So this is how it looks. It is a website, but it's also an app, okay? And students usually, especially math, they send their work through this app.
It's interesting.
So we use it every day, and it's easier. Instead of, let's say, we also upload work on Google Classroom, but when we are in the class, it's just faster to do it this way. Okay, so something else that students need, it's access to a virtual classroom. And in our case, we use Google Classroom. But why do they need access to a virtual classroom? Well, that's where we send all the material to the students. And the way we do it in the class, so I teach a pre-HAC class in Spanish. And since we learn all of the subjects, then we divided the class into all the subjects. Okay, so we have different subjects, but we also have presentations, important information, and then we have all of the subjects. So once we are in the class, students receive the work. Sometimes when we are doing activities in class, I like to divide it in different parts. So let's say that we start at six, and then we are going into breakout rooms by 6:45. But before going into the rooms, I explain to them, okay, look, we're going to do an activity that is going to be divided into 3 parts. You're going to complete the first part within certain amount of time. So I upload only that part of the activity. And then students are able to complete it. Some of them turn it in Google Classroom, but if it is mostly math, they send it to me through Remind. Okay, something very essential, which is phones or tablets because of the cameras. How are they going to take the pictures of their work? Well, they need a phone or a camera, but for our luck, most of our students are using technological devices in order for them to be able to join the classes. And hopefully, most of our students are going to have a phone. If they have a phone and they have a good camera, they're going to be able to send the work to us. Now, before going to breakout rooms, I usually follow a few steps. The first step, which I mentioned before, is to upload the activities to Google Classroom. I usually prepare the activities and the instructions before class, and then I save them as a draft. I save them as a draft. And then before they're going to go to the breakout room, I upload that material to them. Now, the second step is to let students know if they want to send their work individually or if they are going to choose a person that is going to represent the whole group. Why is this important? Sometimes students don't know if the students are all working together in the breakout room, but they don't know how the teacher is going to see their work. How are they going to get the feedback? So I think those expectations have to be very clear before going into the breakout rooms. And that's why we let students know, well, I let students know whether or not I'm going to be correcting the work individually, or I am going to be choosing, or they can choose one person to represent the work for the whole group. Okay, so the third step is to set a timer for the breakout rooms. I usually set more time than what I tell the students that I'm going to be giving them. Why? Because it usually takes them longer to complete the work than the time that I give them. And I feel that if I give them 20 minutes, it's going to take them 25 minutes. But if I say, okay, I'm going to give you 15 minutes, it's probably going to take them 20. So I give them I tell them, okay, I'm going to give you a little less time than the time I want them to complete all the work. And then I usually, by a certain amount of time, I usually go to each of the breakout rooms just to make sure if they need more time, how they're doing, if they need any help. And most likely they're going to need more time with the activities. And then that's why I set the timer. So now, after they go into the breakout rooms, now this is the fun part for me. I don't know if for you it's going to be fun, but while students are in the breakout rooms, this is what I do. I join Zoom from another device. In my case, I join from my tablet. Okay? I join from my tablet and I make sure that multiple participants can share simultaneously the screen from my computer. But why do I do that? I do this because I want to make sure that when I share my screen with the students, I'm able to annotate everything that we're going to be correcting and working on together when they come back to the classroom. So I share my screen from the second device, which is from the iPad. You can also use your phone as your second device if you want to use two different devices. I usually do also two devices because when I share my screen from my computer, I don't know why, but it's difficult for me to pay attention also to what's going on in the groups. So while I share my screen from the iPad, I can leave that there and then go to the groups from the computer. And then everything is set up by the time they're going to come back. Now, iPads, screen sharing is not working properly. And I started to notice that about 2 weeks ago. And I had been looking and looking and looking until I found a solution, and I'm going to share it with all of you. This is what you are going to be doing if you have an iPad and you're using it for your classes. If you have an iPad or an iPhone, okay? If you have an Android, I hope that it works for you and you have no problems. So what you're going to be doing is that from your computer, you're going to click on share screen and a white box is going to pop up. And then there you're going to click, you see the arrow where it says click on iPhone, iPad via AirPlay? That's where I click on. Then from there, on my second device, I click on where it says screen mirroring. And then from there, I'm going to be able to open my digital notebook or whatever I have in the iPad. It's going to be able to be shared with the students from the iPad. And it works. I used it today. It works. No problems. Okay. So all of this is happening while the students are in the breakout rooms. So now it takes me less time. It takes me about 5 minutes. It takes a long time to explain it, but it's done really fast once you get used to it. And then that's the setup. And then I go to see the students and how they're doing. So then students sometimes finish there are groups that finish earlier than the other ones. So what do you do? What do you do? Then that's when you are supposed to be adding the pictures that students shared with you to, in my case, the digital notebook. I have a digital notebook, and what I do is that I share their work. But how do I do that? Well, they send me their work, but whenever they finish, sometimes they finish before we come back to our main room. So what do I do? They share with me the work via Remind, and I copy the pictures and then I paste them into the digital notebook. And then from there, we are able to come back together and we're able to work on whatever they have been working on. What's really nice about this is that students are going to make more of an effort to do the work, not to do it well, but I don't want to say to do it well, but they're going to make more of an effort because all of their classmates are going to see what they're doing. And they're going to, I find that doing it all the time with the students, they get comfortable with making mistakes, with trying. So when we share, our material is not about who did it right, who did it wrong. It's more about learning. It's more about trying. It's more about, okay, teacher, is this good? Okay, perhaps Sylvia, what do you think? Or do you guys think this is correct? What can we change? Is this good? So I feel that there's constant feedback happening while we're learning. Also, earlier I mentioned that sometimes I do activities in part 1, part 2, part 3. So let's say we had part 1, which was actually for this activity. Part 1 was that they had to make a list of 10 different integers. And then part 2 was that they went to breakout rooms in pairs. And then they had to make a number line together, and then they had to figure out where these numbers were. Okay? And then when we came back, we learned how to find the distance from one number to the other number. So then they could go back to the breakout rooms and they can try to figure out the distance within the rest of the numbers. So that will be part 2. but is still doing the work and they're learning from their own work. I think this is it. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? I'm happy to answer.
Maybe I'll ask the first question. Just to, we have about 5 minutes, I think, for questions. There was a question about where you get your slide design. Kwanya responded with slidesgo.com. Is that? Did you want to say anything more about that?
Yes, that is correct. Slidesgo.com. Now you have to sign in. Before there wasn't. You didn't need to have an account. But now I think that because there are so many people downloading the slides, then you have to open an account. I'll show you right now how it looks. Sorry. My computer.
If there are any other questions, maybe you could put them in the chat now, or you could save them for a minute.
Okay, so this is a Slidesgo, and here they have a lot of presentations, Google Slides. You can use also with Google Classroom these presentations and with Google Slides. So you can just copy and paste whatever presentation you want.
And they're already in Google Slides format, is that what you're saying?
Yes, there are. All of them are Google Slides format and also PowerPoint. So you can choose whichever one you're going to use. My computer is not working properly today, so can you stop sharing my screen, please? Okay, thank you. Sorry.
I don't even know how. Can I stop your share?
Yes. So if you go on the top, you're going to have Mercedes is sharing her screen on the right side. You're going to have
Thank you. I just learned something. Okay. Thank you. Other questions for Mercedes?
Mercedes, I would like to speak with you afterwards.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Monica. Oh gosh, let me mute it.
So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go into breakout rooms and
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes. So do I need to use two devices to do breakout room? Because she said that she used two, like she used her iPad.
Oh. So I use two devices because I share my screen. I like to write down let's say whatever they send to me, we correct together or we work on together or we build done to go into the next part of the activities. And that's why I use a second device for just to write. It's easier for me.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
So in order to give us some time for our own breakout rooms and sharing and doing some uploading to Google Classroom, I'm gonna share the task that we're gonna do in Google Classroom on the screen here. We'll have about 15 minutes for this activity. I'm in the Google Classroom that has been set up and that everybody's joined. You'll notice that at the moment I'm in all topics, but I'm gonna narrow that to just showing you our teaching with breakout groups topic right now. So never too late to go to Mentimeter and vote. So I saw some folks did that. I am trying to make this a little bit bigger here. Let me do that. Okay, I'm not sure that everybody can see this, but in Google Classroom, there's a breakout group's task. Basically just, springboarding from what Mercedes has talked to us about with the question of how have you personally integrated student work into your lessons, either online or in person? How might we make student work an important part of our online instruction? So just, generating the ideas from what you've already done or what maybe you intend to do, just like we were talking about with our warm-up question. Discussion in your group with your team partner members, your breakout room members, and then, if possible, submit your eyes to this Google Classroom assignment. If you're familiar with Google Classroom, there's a attachment link. You can also add a Google form, or you could add a Google document. So either individually or as a group, upload what you've done, what you've talked about. You could take a photo and upload it. Sky's the limit for the way that you might upload or attach. Again, with the thinking that we only have 15 minutes for discussing the question of integrating student work and uploading, that this Google Classroom lives on after this hour session is up.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So with that,
Oh Lord.
Teachers are the worst at getting things done on time, aren't they?
We have to an extra 5 minutes.
well, not only are they the worst, which they're not, Michael, at getting things done on time. I know.
Right.
But also, you guys were generating so much great talk and discussion. I mean, that's really the value of having these sessions together is that kind of talk. I know that's a lot of what you come for. Were there any epiphany moments, any aha moments that people want to share that they had discussion about? I know there's nothing yet posted in Google Classroom. If you'd like to do that, of course, after the fact is perfectly fine, because this is a living document, the Google Classroom. But anything to share out from any of your groups that everybody would benefit from? Don't be shy. I know you're not.
In our group, we were discussing, the
Who
problem
is speaking? Sorry.
Mohammed.
Oh, Mohammed. Great. I just didn't think you had. Yeah, great.
So in our group, we were discussing a solution for the idea of sharing documents while students are in the breakout rooms. So we thought that of using WhatsApp for that. I use that. I use WhatsApp on the computer. And I have a group of students there. So a student can open the WhatsApp at the same time while they are in the breakout room, and we can share all the documents at the same time. So it works, actually, and I find this a good solution for the
Mohammed,
problem.
that's terrific. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that's the question of the day. That's fantastic. Great.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try that either tonight.
yeah, it works. It's very, so it will find it effective. I trust that.
Great.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's something that Mercedes addressed in using, instead of WhatsApp, of using Remind. And I think that's, she and I both teach at the same institution, and I think they require that we use something other than WhatsApp. The administration there wants us to stay away from that, I think, for privacy purposes, or the danger, I guess, of possibly sharing something you didn't intend, or giving someone your a private access to them that maybe they didn't intend to share in the class. I don't know. I don't know if there's a good reason for not using WhatsApp, if that's a good enough reason for not using WhatsApp.
Michael, very well taken, though. I think you know, we're restricted also by what an administration wants us to be doing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, right.
we do need to pay attention to that, and every campus is going to be a little different. So that's really important point. Yeah. As we're finishing up, and maybe somebody has one other comment, as Eric mentioned in the chat, we're meeting next Thursday. Venetia, I never say her name properly.
Venetia.
Venetia.
Yeah.
I have to think of Vanessa instead of, yeah. We'll be presenting next week for our hour-long breakout room series number 3. Any final thoughts before we close up shop here? I think I would just also say, if anyone is a willing person to be a presenter, we'd love that. We're always looking for volunteers. Some of you have already volunteered your time in other cases. Michael, yeah.
No, I just had a question for the group here. Maybe someone solved this problem. I've had students submitting work in the photograph form. So they take a photograph of their written work on a piece of paper or in the hard copy of the workbook, and they send it to me through Google Classroom. And I want to be able to make corrections there or annotate it, add comments and things like that. It sounds like, Mercedes, you've done that sort of thing, and I wonder if you have to have a second device like an iPad in order to do it, or is it? I don't. So maybe I'll go out and buy one, but
That's a really good question. You can do it through Google Classroom annotation as well.
All right.
Yeah.
So
others have done that, right?
Because when we, you can make a PDF document out of anything you want to scan from your phone or your iPad, right? You can annotate that.
Yes.
In Google Classroom.
Yes. If the students upload the documents, you can do it. You can annotate through it, but it has to be uploaded as an assignment. Let's say whatever material you upload has to be uploaded as an assignment, and then the work that they submit is the one that Google Classroom is going to allow you to annotate, and so you could return it to them.
So you need to open it as a Google document or in PDF, like nothing special?
No, whatever format they upload it. No, don't worry.
But I think the student has to do it themselves because it has to be uploaded connected to an assignment.
Right.
It's not something that you can receive on WhatsApp and then transfer.
No,
they have to do it.
Agreed.
So it's a learning, and there are ways to teach the students. I know there are several. I made a slide presentation about that, and I know there are several short videos and things like that that teach the students how to do it.
I just posted your presentation in the stream today, Kitty, in fact, reminding folks of the YouTube video channel that Eric set up for CUNY how-to videos. So take a look both at the channel, but Kitty's is highlighted in the stream today, just because I wanted to remind folks of that, and we were talking about Google Classroom. So it's a turn in from photo to Google Classroom.
Oh, okay.
That one,
the one that I sent you more recently is the one where how students can see the comments.
I posted that one also.
Okay.
the one from the student, right? Yeah, the one from your student on the phone. That one. Yeah, that one I just posted too. So thank you, Kitty. Eric? Any final thoughts? Mercedes, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
It was my pleasure.